Saya cuba present. Let me start presenting my slide. Okay. This is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We continue our class. Then for the AHBS 3331, Immuno and Hematological Techniques, Laboratory Techniques. So by the title, Monoclonal and Polyclonal Antibody, basically is about the application of these particles, I may say particles, antibodies, that we made it as a monoclonal or polyclonal for application in the lab. Okay. So, is it? Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Right. Yes. All right. Okay, right. Today is the 6th November. I think we are about half of the month of November. Soon to be December. Oh my dear, subhanallah. Soon to be December. And then the December mean mid-semester exam. So halfway already November. So for about, I think, 2 weeks that we're going our break, and then December mid-semester break, and then believe me, my brother and sister, as you experience for the past 2 years, not third year, for the past 2 years, as you experience once our semester passed into the mid-semester, and then you notice that the exam upon the exam, and then the assignment and presentation comes, and times become you experience shorten. Time becomes not 24 hours per day, kan? It looks like 12 hours per day, and times, and then towards to January, then you notice that you start to sleep at 2-3 o'clock just to finish your assignment and so on. Okay, now I think still it's not too late. It's not too late to finish your timetable, and then to finish your academic lifestyle, to maybe to rectify mistake or corrections, whatever it is. Then I always advise, please don't delay your assignment towards the last minute, and make it as soon as possible. And then about the group work, again, I hope you are the third year. I hope, please cooperate. The hashtag is please cooperate. Give develop a teamwork, good teamwork. Be a good teammates among your colleagues in the groups. Participate, contribute, and bukan sekat contribute, contributes, meaning you are participate and contributes about the betterment of the presentation of the group work, something like that. Please, otherwise it will going to affect not about the marks of the presentation, because we try to be fair. If it's not going to jeopardize others group members that work hard, whatever it is, but it's going to jeopardize ataupun demotivate actually to you are actually, kalau kita tak contribute, kita actually make it others stress dalam group kita, kan? Things that is not good lah, kan? Kita tahu kita kita ni try to do good to others, kan? Try to good to others. So hopefully so by the end of your life, good attitude in you, nurturing. You are not nurturing, and then hopefully by the end of the day, thing is nurtured, nurtured in your, it's part of you. I can say that in you is nurtured in you, that you are always think about to do good to others. I think it's part of. I think overall to conclude what we try to produce, the student attributes of URA, and at least is that I hope that you as a my student, that you are, you have the same spirit that you share with me, that we try to achieve that, inshallah. That's all I can say. That life is short. Life is short. By all means, that we are actually hakikatnya, by facts, reality. Life is short. This world is very short. It's just a temporary. This is not we. That's what we have now. Is going to perish. Going to perish, and then hopefully your barzah, and then your mashar, and then ultimately you are into the Jannah, inshallah. Hopefully, inshallah. Make dua for me. So about the monoclonal and polyclonal, remember about your basic immunology last year, that you learned about how your body generate antibody, and how your body generate antibody is started from introduction of antigen into your body, and then taking up by the antigen presenting cells, and then from the antigen presenting cells, they're going to have either the antigen going to MHC1 going to express, or MHC2 is going to express. And then when we are talking about antibody productions of that antigens, we are talking about MHC class 2. And we're talking about MHC class 2. From the MHC class 2, then we see that two reactions occur. From MHC class 2, they're going to see MHC T helper 1 and T helper 2. And they're interacting with MHC class 2. From there, you can see that T helper 1 is going to produce inflammatory reactions. And T helper 2, you will see that interacting, the receptors interacting with the B cells. And the B cells, and then through that reactions, what we expecting is that B cells is going to differentiate it into the plasma cells, and from the plasma cells going to produce antibody. Okay, that is last year of the lessons. But please don't forget that, because we come back to the antibody productions. In this class, we're talking into the context of monoclonal and polyclonal. Okay. I'm going to stress about monoclonal first. Okay, monoclonal first, because monoclonal, it involves a little bit of another science disciplines into it. This involve cloning. Involve the cloning, of course, because that's why to produce monoclonal is expensive. It's expensive as compared to polyclonal is cheap. It's very cheap, very simple. Polyclonal production is very simple. Is that for the past, not your groups. I think GX2, GX3, GX4, then I think up to GX5, I think. Yeah, I forgot what 6 or 7. No, 7 definitely no. But I forgot about 6, whether they are experienced or not. But I definitely should started from GX2 until GX6, I'm not very sure, but they definitely GX7, no. They don't have the experience doing the practicals of producing antibody in the immunology class. The practical of immunology that they are experiencing is get the antigens, of which I give them an albumin, protein albumin, very very simple from the calf, protein albumin as antigens, and then injected into the rabbits. Then the different groups divided into groups, whatever it is, and then after about a month or 2-3 months during the period of the semester. So by the end of the day, they measure the antibody titer that generated from that antibody. So the experience is producing the monoclonal, meaning that polyclonal is quite simple and then relatively easy. I said it's that's relatively easy, meaning that able to be produced in the class practical, okay, as compared to monoclonal. I think quite expensive. But expensive is one thing, and then it involves the cell culture technique, whatever it is. Meaning that a special facility need to be there, and then normally, if you notice that cell culture room at the level 4 is that very limited numbers of person can be entered. Meaning that if you would like to make it as a practical, then one group enter, then I don't think it's going to finish within 2-3 days, something like that. Because one group enter, I think they may take up 2 hours in that rooms, then change. Not practical, and it's not practical. That's why I says that production is not easy. So, and then kata apa, expensive as well, because involve the media and so on. That is involved monoclonal. That's why I'm going to stress on you about monoclonal antibody, and then inshallah they're going to also have the polyclonal thing as well. Think about this. So what I'm going to stress here, drop the kata apa, throughout of this lecture from now until for the next 1 hour, what I'm going to stress on, I see, is that how this monoclonal antibody produce, and you will see that they'll be going to be we're going to hybridize, meaning we're going to merge between 2 different cells. One, we call it B cells, and there is another one is that cancer cells, myeloma, from the B cells punya kind of kata apa, myeloid punya cancer, I think whatever it is, cancer cells, and then we're going to merge that, and then how to select, how this happen from the from that hybridized, how that is going to happen, and then the selection of the things, and from that we produce kata apa, it's a very selective kata apa, monoclonal cells, thing like this. And then I also would like to stress on, you can see, is that the differences of the types of monoclonal antibody. And as far that the technology available is concerned, okay, 4 types of monoclonal antibodies there. Okay, 4 types. Think about this. First is that murine antibody, human antibody, chimeric antibody, humanized antibody. All right. Inshallah, I'm going to briefly describe to you is that what is the differences between all these 4 types, and then what is difference between human antibody and humanized antibody. Kan? Can see that in the parenthesis and dalam kurungan tu kan, parenthesis kan, dia punya parenthesis tu is that mutant antibody MOMAP kan, human antibody UMAP kan, chimeric antibody ZMAP kan, humanized antibody ZUMAP. What's that kan? What's that? So inshallah we're going to discuss, we're going to highlight it as well. But that one is a brief kan, Momab, Umab, Zimab, Zumab ni, is that you can see that at the end of the names of the drugs, kan? At the end of the drugs, kan? Of the drugs. So if you got one drugs that say is that they call it as a katakan Olizumab, kan? Olizumab, something like that, ataupun uh, ada zimab, kan? Something like this. So olizumab is meaning that Oli is the name of the drugs, and that drugs Oli is produced as a humanized antibody, kan? Humanized monoclonal antibody, Zumab, meaning that this is humanized monoclonal antibody, you know. Tapi something that if you got in a drug that name as a Adazimab, kan? Adazimab, then you know that the nature of these other drugs, named other drug, is that is produced from the chimeric monoclonal antibody. So then you need to know lah what is murine, what is chimeric, humanized, human antibody, and what is the different thing of them. And then I also would like you to understand, or maybe to do some homework, think about it through the reading material I'm going to produce to you, think about it. Maybe I'm not going to stress on that. You know, I hope that you read that articles that I give it to you, whatever it is. So do reading and do some your homework, understand whatever it is, in particular about what is that? Like kind of the list, kind of macam what is the characteristic, what the characteristic of kata apa, of this monoclonal antibody, and monoclonal antibody satu, tengok nantilah, I think from the slide is going to explain. And then another important thing is that the mechanism, kan, the mechanism, how this kata apa, the mechanism how this antibody production, something like that, nah? Tengok like this. So I mentioned just now briefly from the antigen APC, MSC class 1, NTC class 2, whatever it is. So at that part, there's a two ways of your antibody going to produce. Either they are dependent, kan, dependent kepada T cells, or they are independent kepada T cell. Still remember, kan? That kind of kata apa, mechanism that I hope that you read and you understand back, because I think it's important dalam all this kata process. If you don't understand, or you don't reflect, muhasabah balik how this antibody generated, things like this, I hope that no point of doing this, and it's no point of studying this. That is kind of basic, things like this. And then another keyword is that about the immunogenicity, kan? Immunogenicity keywords dalam in this class. I'm going to ask you what is the kata apa, immunogenicity, and then how important to consider their immunogenicity. Okay, I think that's all. Otherwise, it's going too much. And then kata apa, and then let's see of the slide what is going to happen. Think about this. Okay. This monoclonal antibody, and the evolution tu, you can see the evolution tu. They started from the mouse. They started from the mouse antibody, and then chimeric antibody comes in, and then humanized, and now the latest production itu is that for the therapeutic is that a fully human antibody. Fully human antibody ni is, I can simplify to you, simple. It does not involve at all animals. It does not involve at all animals. Okay, and then for you, why? Why? Things like this. And then what is the so special about the fully human monoclonal antibody? And then, and what is so important? Things like this. And what's wrong about this mouse antibody, chimeric antibody, and humanized antibody? What's wrong with it? Kan? I think it's to answer on that things that kata apa, is that for the you need to bear with me lah until the end of this class thing about this. Okay, that is important to about this. And then when we talk about this monoclonal antibody, is if in the textbook is written by this Mak Saleh kan, is written by this kata apa, by the English or by the German textbook, by English normally lah, is by US textbook. They started about among their people kan, like macam kalau dalam betul monoclonal antibody textbook dia kata dia started from 1890 1819. When we check that, by this Adolf Behring kan, Adolf Behring is 1980. It's just talk about serum punya, is that where the antibody punya. At that time, is no term of antibody, but they hypothesized that that kind of that time tetanus, diphtheria disease at that time can be treated through the serum of the animals at that time. At that time, normally at that time they guna sheep, kan? Dia guna sheep, and then also their sheep lah mainly, ataupun goat ataupun lembu at that time, whatever it is, they use that serum ataupun kuda, something like whatever it is kan, untuk dapatkan for the treatment at that time 1890. But I remember, but I don't have no time I to check back Islam in the Islamic punya science practice during the Ottomania thing about it is, during the Turkey punya Ottoman punya era at that time, is already what you call it, is practicing it at that, I forgot, meaning that is before than 1890 punya concept of using this kata apa, serum punya treatment, meaning that actually the science of from English or German, whatever it is that we are reading, we are read in the textbook, actually started from, we know that Islam actually, is modernized this world. Islam is actually comes with to give the rahmatan lil alamin to until now, thing like this. So kan, that is the, and we will have to accept thing like this, and so because at that time Europe, US, they are in the dark state kan, in the dark state kan. Kalau I went to a museum, I went to museum of Nottingham in Nottingham, museum of Robin Hood thing whatever it is at that time, of which we know that it stated that in the Kurun 17, 16 thing whatever it is, 10th century, we know that in Baghdad they already, it's a civilized, with the light on the streets, with the bathroom, whatever it is, soap is already there. Because since Rasulullah SAW lagi is that at that time, dah ada wudu, dah ada tahara, is that we are already talking about what cleanliness kan, thing like this, and then during that time, thing like this. But when you go to the museum, at one part, I like that part. What to say is that at that century of the Robin Hood, they speculated from 16th century, 17th century, 15th century at that time. They are trying to kata apa, mimic the real scenario at that time. What was, you know what? Is that I'm surprised to say they're putting the smell of kata apa, hancing, kencing tu. They purposely made it. They say that is the situation of that time, meaning that cleanliness is not there. The scenario of the kata apa, the kampung at that time is like that. So I can say that's why orang kata apa, in that century, the Europe, whatever it is, they are infected with the plague and the Black Death. You can see that. Then, is orang kata apa, is that orang kata apa, correlates lah with their lifetime, whatever it is. Then that's why is some of them looking for treatment and thing whatever it is. And then, but yet in the history, that is how things started. But actually they are actually got of this technology, got of this knowledge from the orang kata apa, the practice. Kalau kita nak kata is Rasulullah SAW is started that thing whatever it is at that time. Kalau kata that is that kind of that thing, but it's not in the kata apa, in the textbook thing whatever it is. Something that we need to know, and then meaning that if we are the historian to write about science, I think we should emphasize on that thing. Kan? It's not that. So kalau dalam monoclonal antibody, I come back. It started from 1890 in the textbook. So Adolf Behring for the diphtheria, tetanus treatment of the toxin. They use a serum. At that time, tak ada lagi terminology of antibody. And then the antibody punya story ni started, you see started dia punya structure of antibody ni is identified in 1960. 1960 structure of antibody ni identified. Kan? At that time tidak ada lagi monoclonal antibody unless until 1975 of where this hybridoma technology started. 1975 kan. Hybridoma monoclonal, orang kata apa, hybridoma technology. Kita punya cloning kan. That's why from the B cell dengan myeloma tu they able to hybridize kan. From there is started kata apa, meaning that they're able to clone now. They're able to clone now the B cell that so-called produce antibody. Kan? So at that time concept serum kata apa, and then they identified serum ni yang ada antibody tu from the B cell. So what to do with the kata apa, how now they are thinking, scientists thinking, bagaimana kita nak clone these B cells and propagate in the cell, then we are extracting out the goodness of the B cell, meaning that antibody yang something they produce, antibody produce tu is antibody tu in the serum tu, bagaimana kita nak extract, nak purify that things kan. So hurdles now, bagaimana nak clone B cell ni. Clone B cell ni dia susah nak hidup atas orang kata apa, atas culture. So but then they know that something like orang kata apa, B cell punya cancer, myeloma ni able to grow on the orang kata apa, on the culture. So why not, they say that if they can put this B cell into the myeloma punya cancer cell, and then this myeloma can propagate it together with the B cell, and then they proven that yes, it works, and it works. That's why until 1975. So when they are able to orang kata apa, to clone these B cells into the culture, and then you know this orang kata apa, monoclonal punya activity, punya producing into the science until now is that kata apa, is a blooming thing, whatever it is, blooming in the sense that if you're talking about ringgit, dollar and cents kan, I think dalam industry of pharmaceutical is a very orang kata apa, very lubuk duit lah, thing whatever it is kan. I got while preparing the lecture, reading there and here, I found this one article, thing whatever it is, the business in 2020 of monoclonal ni, dia punya business is about in US alone. I'm not talking about in China, in kata apa, in European country that producing this monoclonal antibody. In US alone, dia punya business tu 300 billion USD. Punya business. 300 billion USD punya kind of business. So, and then up things so far around tak sampai kot 100, tak sampai pun hundreds monoclonal antibody that using as a kata apa, as a treatment dalam for the patient in the ward. But clinical trial is ongoing. Clinical trial is ongoing, about hundreds more to come. Think about it. That mainly monoclonal antibody and drugs yang saya akan share that article. You can see that from the list, this monoclonal antibody is mainly used untuk oncology, untuk cancer treatment, and then mainly main cancer treatment, and then you can see that some of them for cardiology, then for immunological punya problems, and they use this monoclonal antibody for the human treatments. I think that is the background of the things, so whatever it is. And then the things, what next? If we know then it's the mild, chimeric, humanized, and human, why is that the scientists are so in race to produce up to the, kalau boleh lah, produce into the fully human antibody. Now, is that the answer is that because of kata apa, immunogenic, kan? The answer is that because of the immunogenics, kata properties of the antigen, kan? Of the antigen that entering into your body. So, kan, what do you understand with the term of immunogenic? Someone please answer without googling, with your knowledge, with your current knowledge, kan? With your current knowledge of basic immunology last year, kan? Please don't. With a try. I would like to understand your punya kata apa, basic level of understanding thing whatever it is, without googling, without looking at what is the immunogenic. Please someone unmute and then answer, tengok. Boleh jawab tak nak tengok? What is that you understand about immunogenics? Kau boleh minum sekejap while waiting you on. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah. Anyone? Immunogenics. What is immunogenics? No one?
I would like to try.
Apa? Siapa ni?
Shakira.
Okay, Shakira.
Ya, saya ingat selepas immunogenicity, maksud dia the ability to stimulate the production of antibodies.
Antibody. I think masa immunodiffusion pun saya ada cakap kan? Saya cakap kan? Shakira? Masa immunodiffusion saya ada cakap tak?
Okay.
Ada kan? Is that okay nah? Is that, ada jawapan lain tak yang selain daripada Shakira punya jawapan? Selain daripada Shakira, ada orang lain nak kata lain daripada itu? Yang you rasa better terminology to understand the immunogenics? What is the term immunogenics? Tak ada. So again why I mention is the immunogenics? I think kena faham kat sini nah. Because dia ada kaitan dengan yang ini nah. It's why this monoclonal evolve until the fully human. Dia ada kaitan dengan is that immunogenic thing it is. Macam Shakira punya jawapan. Jawab sekali lagi Shakira. Apa dia Shakira?
The ability to stimulate the production of antibodies.
Okay. Antibodies kan, whatever it is. Kalau kita tengok dia punya terms tu, immunogenicity is defined the ability to stimulate, to provoke immune response. Kan? Tengok whatever it is. So, do you think these immunogenic properties among these kata apa, monoclonal antibody is good? Or this is something that you wanted to be in this kata apa, immunomodulation treatment? Shakira, come back to you. What do you think?
Not sure.
Not sure, nah? Think about this. When we are talking, that is something I need to do some correction. That okay, please pay attention and then please now is that taking is this a corrective measurement that we really need to understand this. Think about this. So dalam konteks, in the context of monoclonal antibody punya kata apa, therapeutic properties, kan, therapeutic properties, the terminology of immunogenic ni something that we do not want it to happen. Kita tidak mahu, we do not want to see, or we do want to kata apa, to observe the monoclonal, the therapeutic monoclonal that we produce has the immunogenic properties. Kita tak nak. Kan? Kita tak nak. Sebab apa? Sebab kita punya monoclonal antibody yang kita produce as a drugs itu, dah kita kena consider that as a kind of antigen. Kan? Something that orang kata apa, foreign antigen that we're going to introduce into our body. Kan? It's a one whole antigen blocks of kita punya monoclonal tadi yang kita produce outside tadi, with the drugs, whatever it is kan. And then kita masukkan dalam badan kita. We do not want that to be as that, kata apa, immunogenics. Dia tidak ada macam title ni tadi, ataupun macam Syakira cakap tadi, something satu properties yang stimulate ataupun something yang provokes immune response, kan? Provoke immune response. Tengok like this. Understand lah? So that we do not want it to be, kan? So that kalau sebab apa selalu kita akan a bit confused kalau dah macam dah apa tu, we are talking about immune response, immune treatment. So kita nak immunogenic properties, kan? Immunogenic properties. That kan immunogenic properties, that kalau you nak apa tu, kata apa, kalau you nak buat vaksin, kalau you all nak buat vaksin, then you nak immunogenic tu. Different sikit lah. Kalau you nak produce vaksin, tapi ini bukan kelas ni lah kan, vaksin ada kelas lain, mungkin kelas Dr. Effendi ke Dr. whatever it is, dia different sikit punya konteks ataupun different sikit punya approach, whatever it is kan. What does immunogenicity means in the context of vaccine, kan, untuk vaccine production, whatever it is. So at this point of context punya title ni, kalau vaksin, yes, kita nak antigen yang kita select kan, untuk kalau produce COVID-19 yang you all famous sangat kan, you all ni takut sangat dengan therapeutic, antigen tersebut dia mesti antigenik. Tetapi kalau dalam apa tu monoclonal antibody yang diproduce, you tak nak that kind of antigen. Kalau boleh langsung orang kata plain masuk macam air sejuk ataupun something like is part of your body, right? It's a very minimum zero antigenic properties. Kita nak that kind of response therapeutics. So saya akan share paper ni, Frontier in Immunology kan, 2020 ni, quite very recent, panas lagi paper ni, therapeutics. So baca this is therapeutics. Dalam ni ada dia ada cerita tentang yang cakap tadi lah, is the mechanism and so on, about kata apa, anti-drugs antibody formations, anti-drugs antibody formation following the treatments with monoclonal antibody. What does it mean by the title? Meaning that the title tu something that you guna monoclonal antibody as a therapeutic properties, and then that kata apa, monoclonal yang kita nak guna yang drugs itu, dia interact dengan badan you, respon kan, diabetes. So bila badan you interact with that kata apa, you punya drugs itu, as a monoclonal tadi, what's the point? So because you punya immune system akan try to kill ataupun dia panggil neutralize kan, dia akan neutralize ni apa tu properties, kata apa, therapeutic properties kita punya antibodies, monoclonal treatment tadi. So that waste lah. So ataupun treatment kita tak berkesan. Understanding itu diabetes. That's why kalau boleh, kalau dalam monoclonal punya treatment tersebut, kita tak nak ada anti-drugs tadi, anti-drugs properties tadi. This why anti-drugs antibody formation inilah yang kita panggil, kalau boleh kata apa, immunogenicity, immunogenic ni tadi tidak kata apa, is that zero lah, kita kata 0% diabetes happen dalam keadaan treatment diabetes. So that's why membaca artikel ni sangat bagus untuk kita faham kan, untuk kita faham apa yang kita nak dalam apabila kita work on monoclonal ni, dan apa yang kita nak the outcomes from this monoclonal antibody therapeutics kan, therapeutics. Sebab brother and sister, monoclonal treatment ini, antibody therapeutics, kalau boleh dikatakan dalam list of cost of the drugs, maybe among the most expensive punya expensive lah kan, sangat mahal ubat tu, diabetes kan, as compared to bukan monoclonal antibody punya kata apa, mode of treatment kan, kita tak guna. You know kan, why kita guna monoclonal antibody, why kita guna antibody as a drugs punya kata apa, vector ataupun transporter, because antibody ni dia punya reaction adalah very specific kan, very specific. So that normally kalau very specific itu, dia punya kata apa, dia punya dosage kan, dia punya dosage of drugs compound, dosage of kata apa, chemical compounds that used to treat certain disease macam cardiovascular rheumatoid arthritis or systemic lupus arthritis, systemic lupus kata apa, erythematosus kan, yang immunological disease tu, whatever it is. So that chemicals dia akan, ataupun cancer punya kan, selalu cancer ni dia punya side effect teruk kan, badan panas, botak kepala and so on, whatever it is. So dengan guna monoclonal antibody, thing is targeted, low dosage so that less side effect, ataupun kalau boleh tak ada effects whatever it is kan, tak ada effect whatever it is. And then that's why pemilihan mode of treatment guna monoclonal antibody ni adalah satu pilihan yang orang kata apa, very expensive and exclusive, orang kata apa, kayangan punya treatment lah, kayangan punya kind of treatment. That's why sebolehnya ya, kalau kita nak kata, kalau kita doktor suggest kat kita, dekat ayah kita, dekat tok kita kan, whatever it is, untuk monoclonal antibody treatment kan, whatever it is, first thing yang kita kena question dekat doktor sebelum dia prescribe, what's about this kata apa, immunogenics punya properties, is it how much kan, what percent kata apa anti-drugs antibody formation upon you prescribe this drug, dia kena answer that, because dalam kata apa, dalam clinical trial whatever it is, data ni ada kan, so hopefully by you reading this thing, you will understand more. Even they listed dalam paper ni, they listed all the drugs kan, and then yang available and then approved by the US government, with the kata percentage of kata apa immunogenics response tadi of your body kan, that's why again jawapan, bagi jawapan kat you all, why seboleh-bolehnya kita pergikan kepada human, fully human tu, because the immunogenic, tengok the graph tu kan, dia punya immunogenicity upon you are moving kepada fully human punya monoclonal antibody tu, dia panggil dia lesser up to the 1% kan, 2%, 0% tu tak lah kan, so that because because kita tahu immune response kita kan very highly specific, tengok kan, you masuk air sejuk pun dia akan cuba respond kan, tengok tu nak kata zero tu tak lah, tapi as compared to the murine kan, murine punya monoclonal antibody, OMAP tu dengan ZIMAP, so much better, tengok that's why kata apa, dari segi teknologi ataupun dari segi generation of the kata monoclonal antibody, kalau boleh kata apa, scientist ataupun doktor, they try to prescribe kalau boleh lah kata apa, up to the fully human punya monoclonal antibody, of which dalam production dia tak involve langsung apa tu animal, tengok kan, tapi you know lah, dia punya the way of doing it is that kata apa tu fully genomics, clone, extracting out and then apa tu fusion of the genes and then putting back into the cell, propagate, tengok so macam tu lah apa tu dia punya things, production dia, tengok understand lah, hopefully you understand now why kita kata apa, the science going toward apa tu fully human monoclonal antibody, MUMAP. Tengok kalau boleh drugs tu kita nak prescribe kita tu, kalau boleh is that instead of only OMAP kan, kita dapat only MUMAP. Nanti kalau boleh apa tu, which one a drug of choice, only OMAP ataupun only MUMAP kan, kalau boleh kita nak only MUMAP. Sebab apa? Sebab less immunogenicity reaction kan, against that drugs. Itu jawapan dia, dan itulah kata apa, the justification why we choose that kind of drugs. Tengok this. Okay nah? So hopefully that is I think is that the most important parts that you need to understand here. So this one yang kata tadi, kalau dalam ada lagi paper lagi paper lain untuk dalam paper ni quote juga is that orang kata apa ada kata apa possible ada ni adalah kata apa anti drugs tadilah, anti drugs punya kata apa adverse effect antibody tadi, anti ADA tu, anti drugs antibody formation. So dia ada two types kan, two ways of doing things, sama ada genetics, co-treatment ataupun disease, penyakit tu sendiri yang sebenarnya dia tak sesuai dengan drugs itu. So ini that's why kalau you baca tu is that certain drug walaupun dah humanized, sometimes is that humanized humanized punya monoclonal antibody as compared to chimeric. Supposingly chimeric is less ada ataupun anti-drugs antigen. But some circumstances that we found that is that chimeric is better than humanized. Kan? Chimeric is better than humanized, or sometimes is that full human pun. Kan? Chimeric is better ataupun humanized better than full human. So saintis duk fikir-fikir, duk kaji-kaji is that because dia relatedkan kepada jenis penyakit tu, disease punya penyakit itu, thyroiditis. So agak nak explain pun is unknown mechanism thyroiditis, tapi whatever they able to reflect ataupun to conclude is that jenis penyakit tu sendiri yang contributekan kepada possible other causes. Meaning that tadi, walaupun secara data most of the disease yang prescribed is that full human monoclonal antibody is the best dari segi entry drugs antibody formation. Tapi at certain condition, very few condition, is that due to the disease state tadi, that kata apa is that the vice versa, the effect is vice versa as compared to full human punya in the context diabetes. Nah, so that another thing is drugs related kepada ADA formation tadi. So ada berapa tadi? Ni kan saya ada 8, so lebih kurang 3 kan frekuensi lah. Bila the most frequency is that lebih banyak antigen, mana you increase dose lah kan. Dia reflect pada dose pula. Kan? 2 kali sehari bandingkan 3, 4, 5 kali sehari kan, is dah reflect kepada you increase the dose kan, dia reflect lah dia diabetes. Route of administration macam IV, IM, intramuscular, IV is also effect diabetes and so on, diabetes. Nah, so and then ada juga ada molecular mechanism that lead to ADA formation. Please read and understand that. So please read and understand that. Macam saya cakap tadi lah, dia punya basic saya cakap tadi. Is that kata apa, start from antigen presenting cells, apa tu, MHC class 1, MHC class 2, something like that, and then T helper 1, T helper 2, B cell, plasma cell, and so on. But please, and then you read and you understand. I think it's much more better lah. I do is that way. Kalau saya cakap pun, saya explain diabetes, kalau you all talk, go back and read and then make it your own notes. I think that's much better lah. That's the best way. That's why saya tulis itu. Please read and understand. Briefly, I think in detail kita dah belajar lah. Is that kata apa? Masa basic immunology. So dia punya molecular mechanism that lead to ADA pun sebenarnya is slightly tak ada beza sangat. That's why you suruh read and understand balik. Kan? So begitu. Tak adalah kata kompleks sangat. So semuanya bila you baca balik, you teringat balik. Kan? Dia bukan teringat balik you punya basic immunology punya kelas. Please nah. So bila saya bagi articles ni, saya plus the article kan. 2 dia kot dengan artikel saya rasa. Baca lah. Bukan sebagai artikel tu untuk tidak dibaca. Sebagai artikel tu maknanya penting, bagus untuk dibaca, penting untuk you all baca. Do that lah. So ni cakap tadi is that kata apa, up to the 300 billions kan diabetes lah. So dia punya sekarang pun dah 200 billion 200 billion. Oh, yang 300 billion tu is the 2025 dia punya prediction in the next 5 years. Because sekarang ni pun dah almost kan kepada kata apa 200 billion 20 2018 data 2020 ni saya baca tadi 220 billion dia punya business tu. So it's a money lah, it's a ton of money lah, it's a ton of money. Then you see that numbers of kata apa nama-nama kata apa drugs and then whatever dia guna. So mostly kalau you tengok pun mostly kepada cancer and so on. So paper ni insya-Allah saya bagi. Development of therapeutic antibody for treatment of disease. It's good. Bagus paper ni untuk dibaca. Development of therapeutic antibody for treatment of diseases. Baca. Lebih kurang dapat idea. Oh, this is the thing. So, journal review ni tak panjang. Dia dalam berapa pages ni. Berapa pages ni ada berapa pages tak? Lebih kurang tak ada. Dia tak indicate here diabetes. Dia dalam 11 pages diabetes. Tak banyak pun. Sambil duk makan kan, sambil baca. So sambil duk tengok orang duk main kan, duk main basketball, main baseball dan tenis, habis baca. Okay, kita relax balik. Kita back to basic balik tentang monoclonal ni balik. So apa yang saya cakap tadi adalah apa dia dia punya fundamentals, what's background of monoclonal antibody, kan dia punya background. So kita break balik, kita come back, kena basic balik. Is that monoclonal antibody ni, apa pentingnya monoclonal antibody as compared to polyclonal untuk therapeutics. Orang kata apa, dia punya advantage dia, kita boleh produce banyak. Kita boleh produce banyak sebab dia involve cell kan. And then growing in the cell, kita boleh produce sebanyak-banyak cells. Kita dah dapat selected B cells tu, yang antibody yang spesifik tu, so that you grow lah sebanyak mana you nak grow antibodies kan. So that's kan, kalau kilang tu sebesar bilik saya ni, is that tak sebesar double up antibodies kan. Dia punya cell saja antibodies untuk dia produce ni banyak as compared to the polyclonal. So that is advantage of monoclonal antibodies. So you just need to isolate B cells and then grow them, and you clone then that B cell tu. Ingatlah, satu B cell satu antigen, satu B cell satu antibody kan, satu B cell satu antigen. So only dalam kerja ni kita kena select lah kan. Maknanya kita how to select, how to orang kata apa, harvest the B cells. Normally dia antigen yang secara generalnya lah, secara general untuk kita faham a little bit. Antigen yang katakan specific for COVID-19 tadi kan, antigen for COVID-19 tadi, kita nak buat monoclonal kind of monoclonal punya kata apa, specific kan, specific antigen untuk against that, kata apa, COVID-19 punya treatment kan, kita nak produce antibody. So antigen yang spesifik yang kita target tadi, yang kita dapat daripada COVID-19 antibody, kita nak buat monoclonal treatment dia untuk COVID-19. Kita masukkan ke dalam ke dalam rat tadi. So kita nak dapatkan B cell tadi, kita akan harvest daripada, especially dalam spleen kan. Spleen banyak yang kata apa, dalam spleen ni banyak kata apa, activated B cells, activated T cells kan. Dalam spleen tu yang kita belajar kan. So normally the spleen itu kita harvest from there, and then from that kata apa, spleen tadi, all these T cell, lymphocyte, T cells dengan B cell ni kita akan letak dalam petri dish. Satu well tu satu B cell, satu well tu satu B cell yang kita select. Dan guna kind of teknologi sekarang ni, guna flow cytometry, guna especially flow cytometry, nama flow cytometry. Because flow cytometry ni dia akan passing by from dia punya detection tu satu cell, dia akan detect satu cell, positive cell. That's how they detect. Then kita detect which cells yang kita select tadi, beribu-ribu select tu, is that actually is highly specific kepada apa yang antibody ataupun yang kita nak kan, sel mana yang kita nak kan. From that individual lah you produce, dia kata tadi tons kan, kata apa, sebanyak mana yang you nak produce, once you able to select that. Itu saja peringkat yang susahnya, tapi once you got it, so the rest of the thing is that kata apa, dah become easier lah, we become targeted. I think the most difficult part yang selection tadi, selection kepada kata apa, individu clone B cells tadi kan. Itu saja yang kata apa, yang sangat criticalnya. Once you got it, then that's it. You're going to produce tons of money if that monoclonal antibody works for treatment. So this is about the history of hybridized tadi, 1975 kan. So, orang kata apa, 10 tahun selepas orang kata apa, structure antibody dijumpai, so barulah orang kata apa, teknologi hybridoma ni terhasil 1975 after that. Dan dia dapat Nobel Prize kan, Milton and Kohler ni, think about this. So the first kata apa, first antibody monoclonal antibody ni diproduce adalah pada tahun 1986, and then first humanized monoclonal antibody tahun 2002 yang digunakan untuk rheumatoid arthritis kan. Selepas 1955 ni until 2002, first humanized monoclonal antibody prescribed masuk kepada rheumatoid arthritis punya patient. So that 1986 dah produce kata apa, muromonab. Muromonab ni is that daripada murin tadi, murin sampai dia produce 2002 ada limunab kan. Munab tu kita tahu is that from the humanized, from urine kepada humanized, tak fully human lagi kan. Fully human 2012 kan, 2012 yang first full human yang dapat diproduce. So that maknanya full human monoclonal antibody is later 2012. Kan? So first full humanized tadi is that 2002 kan, and then 1986 is daripada murine and then 2002 fully humanized. First full human is that 2012. Nak ceritanya how close benda tu teknologi ni dengan you all. Kan? Mana tak jauh kan. Nak cerita bukan apa saya cakap sejarah tahun-tahun ni, nak bagi tahunya teknologi ini is that dengan bandingan you all ni tak jauh. 2012 kan baru sangat kan. Baru sangat berlaku dengan 2021 ni kan. Sangat dekatnya kan. Tengok betis kan 2012 2021. Mana teknologi ni tak jauh. Thing is that mana kalau you nak embark into it mesti banyak lagi kan ruang dan peluang. Teknologi ni masih baru kan monoclonal antibody. So apa lagi yang penting ini selection adalah so T cell, B cell macam mana kita boleh segregate. The point is that I want to say to you that di antara kata apa cells ni individual tu that we are able to kata apa kita boleh asingkan satu-satu one by one of that single cell tadi. Kita panggil clonal selection tu, kita boleh pilih dan kita boleh select dalam. That's why that is kata apa the beauty of science, knowing that things nak practice saja, tengok practice. So nak tunjuk kat you all pun kata dia bila you all practice you all nampak kan kalau ada peluang lah kan, kalau ada peluang kan pergi ke vaksin company ke kan, kalau ada peluang cari-carilah nanti kan masa you all nak buat practical ke whatever it is mungkin dapat hands on with the thing in a very highly kata apa specialized high tech punya bilik room tengok practice because nak buat benda ni dia kena clean and so on, condition control, temperature control tengok practice kan tengok practice. So kalau tengok video, kalau ada video cuba tengok kan, cuba type dalam YouTube tengok practice kan, saya rasa mesti ada kan, type lah tengok kata apa is monoclonal antibody production, tengok dalam YouTube kalau ada lah. Saya belum tak pernah cari. Okay. Saya believe is there. Kan? Is there. Cari tengok this. So teknik dia macam cakap tadi lah. Kata apa dia guna kata apa B lymphocyte yang kita dengan apa tu dengan tumor cells kan, type of cancer that called myeloma. Daripada myeloma punya cells dia merge dengan B lymphocyte yang you all pilih tadi. Teori yang akan ni. So dia akan fuse kan. Dia akan cuba masukkan kan ke dalam myeloma tu. Kan? Teori myeloma cell. So sifat cancer cell ni is that orang kata apa dia secara engineernya kan, dia kata engineer ataupun secara chemically sebenarnya ditukarkan kepada immortal. Dia bukan macam kita ambil myeloma cells daripada patient dan kita betul guna tak. Dia masih lagi perlu guna science orang kata apa kita panggil tissue culture technology, that's another aspect, so that whatever cancer cell, breast cancer cells, apa whatever cancer cell yang guna dalam lab itu ataupun you all beli guna lab nanti buat research nanti, that cancer cells daripada patient dia guna satu lagi proses, guna satu proses lagi dalam lab of which lepas you purify cancer cell tersebut, whatever lah kidney cancer cell ke apa ke, kita akan satu lagi teknik atau prosedur dia panggil immortal. Kita perlu kata apa engineerkan secara chemically ataupun secara mutation ke whatever it is, kita akan immortalkan cells tu. Barulah sifat dia kita boleh grow and culture, kita boleh propagate dalam lab sebanyak-banyak mungkin yang boleh practice. Kan? Dia bukanlah kata ambil cancer cell daripada patient terus grow. Tak. Dia perlu satu lagi proses dalam lab. Dia panggil dia kena immortalize kan. Ada step prosedur dalam lab. Faham nah? Because nanti kalau you buat research kan, you buat master PhD nanti ada certain research tu dia start dengan patient punya sampel. Patient punya sampel. Mana daripada bilik bedah bagi dekat you kan, you masuk bilik bedah tu ikut dengan doktor, dengan dia punya supervisor dia selalunya surgeon kalau itu masuk, tapi dia bagi dekat you untuk ambil and then bawa keluar. Itu saja kan, itu saja dia punya part. Lepas dia potong in size, bawa keluar theoretically, and then you bawa balik ke lab, and then dia kata okay, take this cancer cell and to start kita propagate and then do our work, tengok baik. So that you akan that cancer cell daripada patient tadi yang daripada bilik bedah itu dia panggil primary cancer cell. Kan, primary cancer cells ni banyak lagi prosedur nak kena buat. So nak ada selection, purification, tengok baik, dah dapat apa tu kata apa select, kata apa pure cancer cell working on that thing, katakan kidney cancer cell tadi. So another procedure dia kena immortalize kind of procedure, then barulah you boleh jadikan dia sebagai kata apa cancer cells kan, cancer cell line. Baru dia panggil cancer cell line. Tengok ada orang dia panggil cancer cell, dah panggil cancer cell line tu maknanya dah cancer cell line daripada patient tadi dah jadi, you dah labkan dia. dia dah panggil ready for in vitro punya study. Faham tak? Samalah dengan myeloma ni. Myeloma ni, that myeloma punya cancer cell daripada patient diimmortalkan dan barulah digunakan untuk fusekan kita punya B cell. So itulah dinamakan hybridoma techniques yang menyebabkan orang kata apa monoclonal antibody production ni become possible. That's why kata apa kalau kita ajar monoclonal ni kita cerita juga semua ni supaya we all faham what is that going on di belakang tabir sains tersebut menyebabkan kata apa patient digunakan. So that's you are lah kan, orang biomedik lah. Gitulah secara diagramatiknya yang apa yang saya explain tadi, B cells yang you produce dalam tikus tu, yang rat, mouse, things like this. Dari segi rat dengan mouse kan, dari segi selection of orang kata apa yang mana nak guna kan. Kalau saya lah secara peribadi, kalau untuk tujuan ini saya akan pilih mouse kan, sebab apa, dalam mana-mana articles ataupun experience saya sendiri, whatever it is, kalau kita produce polyclonal, mouse punya polyclonal as compared to rat polyclonal, mouse polyclonal antibody dia less cross reaction as compared to rat punya polyclonal. Faham tak? Apa tu? Cross reaction. Yang last lecture kan, that's why kata. That's why penting tu. Terminologi tu. Dia less cross reacted. Maknanya kalau that's why saya kata tadi, kalau dibagi pilihan, saya nak buat animal model mana untuk saya pilih di antara mouse ataupun rat, saya akan pilih mouse. Kan? Tetapi kalau dalam industri monoclonal ni, antibody ni untuk therapeutics, you akan jumpa dia akan guna hamster. Kan? Dia akan guna hamster. Maknanya better. Tapi untuk research, hamster mahal lah kan? Mahal banding dengan mouse ataupun rat. Itu saja. Ada lagi yang lagi mahal yang lebih better macam gerbils kan? Hamster gerbils. Selalu kita tengok lagi comel lagi kan? And then that's why is that apa tu mahal lah. Kalau kita untuk guna research mahal. That's why bukan research selalunya setakat lab ni untuk research ni selalu kita guna mouse lah. The list. Tapi kalau untuk industri, dia akan perasan dia akan guna hamster, Chinese hamster. Dia guna Chinese hamster kind of kata apa, animal model. So dia punya justification cost, because the lesser cross reactivity. So you understand apa itu cross reactivity. Saya explain kat you kan, affinity, cross react, whatever it is masa last week punya kelas. So guna pakai dia punya ilmu itu dalam konteks justification kita kat sini. So the merge, the fuse, produce and then they select, and they buat selection. So we able to do that. Dapat selection satu. Inilah lebih kurang. Maknanya kalau you buat produce polyclonal, macam betul antibody tersebut dia akan cross react. Dia ada satu antigen tu dia boleh produce reaction kepada 4 lain lagi epitope kan. Antibody 1, 2, 3, 4 tu maksud epitopes lah, bukan antibody different antibody, tak. From one single antigen dia boleh, kalau polyclonal tu dia boleh produce 4 apa tu epitopes kan. Epitope ada pun dia punya atas tu pun epitopes maksud dia. So antibody tu maksud dia epitopes. So banding dengan monoclonal, satu epitopes saja kan. Satu epitopes kan. Maknanya kena highly selection lah. Epitopes that you choose is that the epitopes tu they able to recognize 1, 2, 3, 4. Itu satu lagi karakteristik. So and then the characteristic that the epitope tu dia bila dia masuk balik dalam badan you sebagai therapeutics, dia tidak orang kata apa, provoke ataupun Syakira guna word tadi apa, stimulates immune response. You punya immune response tadi. Itu karakteristik tadi nah. Hopefully you understand that nah. So macam tu. So memang tedious lah nah. So that banyak karakteristik nak kena fikir. Tengok this. So macam polyclonal ni dia banyak epitope. So masuk aja dia recognize. Kan? So masuk aja recognize. Dekat sini kita boleh fikir. Konsep ni kalau you faham, kalau dalam konteks COVID-19 punya vaksin ni kan, nak guna CanSino China punya ke, CanSino ke, nak guna Pfizer ke, nak guna AstraZeneca ke, nak guna yang mana? Kan? Nak guna yang mana? So dengan konsep ni, dengan epitope punya konsep, cross reactivity punya konsep, you are able to discuss wisdomly. Kan? Kalau kita tak bagi answer dalam discussion, dalam menghujah tengok reactivity, kita tak tekan hujah, kita selalu open kepada discussion, and then biar kebenaran itu masing-masing fikirlah. We back to secara wisdomnya tengok reactivity. So macam dalam konteks kata apa, vaksin dalam konsep vaksin. Okay. I'm talking about epitopes. Kena ingat monoclonal antibody dia tak sama dengan vaksin tadi. Daripada awal tadi saya dah buat corrective. It's a different konsep dari segi therapeutics. Reserve tapi nak cerita kat you all dari segi cross react antibody ni pun semua untuk dia punya ni. Kita kata dari segi macam apa tu, kata apa, China punya COVID-19 punya vaksin itu, dia maknanya the whole virus tersebut dia grow dalam sel, dia akan kata apa, dia akan kill ataupun dia akan deactivate kan benda tu kan, dia attenuated kan, fully attenuated kan benda tu, the whole antigen, ingat words dia, the whole antigen of COVID-19 tersebut kan, and then dia masuk balik dalam badan kan, dia masuk dalam the whole antigen tu. Maknanya you punya immune response nak produce antibody tu, semua set of antigen of COVID-19 tu is that badan you dah recognize. Kan? Itu yang China punya kind of thing kan. The whole set of antigen tersebut dia dah recognize, tengok reactivity. That's why kata apa, bagus tak bagus kan, dia dah reactivity kan. Satu. Tapi as compared to orang kata apa, AstraZeneca ataupun Pfizer, think about it, diorang ni is a clone tau, clone technology tau. AstraZeneca pun dia guna teknologi clone kan, dia guna virus, adenovirus punya, dia clone adenovirus antigen tersebut, think about it. And then sama juga dengan Pfizer, dia dapat antigen, dia analyze antigen tu, dia produce antigen mRNA dalam bentuk mRNA, jadikan vaksin. Maknanya only a portion, satu epitopes kan, whatever it is. Banding dengan AstraZeneca pun sama epitopes juga kan. Kalau katakan Pfizer guna epitope 2, AstraZeneca guna epitope 3, itu saja kan. As compared to orang kata apa, yang China tu dia semua epitope ada 1, 2, 3, 4 semua ada. Dia masuk kan, dia masuk langsam, kita panggil langsam theories. So kalau dari segi teori, sebab data tak ada kan, dari segi teori yang mana bagus kan, theories kan. Of course kita kata dari segi badan untuk long term ataupun dengan various variant yang ada theories. Saya rasa pendapat saya kan, yang China dah lebih well protected kan theories. Cuma disadvantage dia sebab badan you nak produce semua epitope tersebut, that's why dia akan menghasilkan low titer kan, bukan nak kata dia tak protektif, tapi cuma low. Sebab apa? Semua dia nak produce kan, badan mana ada capability T cell dia nak produce kan. Maknanya kalau dia nak produce semua antigen tu dalam bentuk high dose, saya rasa badan you akan jadi hypersensitivity ataupun dia punya badan not able to cope with that reaction, thing like this, so that low lah kan. That's why kata apa, tak bagus dari segi hujahnya, kata tak bagus, tengok bukan itu konteks dia punya teori dia, ataupun dari segi kata apa, science punya observation data tu, bukan itu cara tengok dia. Tengok kena faham lah kan. Yang China tu dia produce semua kan, semua epitopes yang ada, so dia akan sikit dia punya T cell, B cell tu produce ni sikit, dia ambil selection, tengok and capability you punya kata apa, spleen, capability of your thymus to produce of the activated kan? Limited kan kita punya ni is capacity kita kan. Sanggup ke nak orang kata apa, orang kata apa, timers kita nak produce, nak activated pun apa, bengkak timer sampai pecah kan, mati pula kan. Tidaklah, maha suci Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Kita back kepada itu konsep tu balik. So macam Pfizer AstraZeneca yang dibangga-banggakan, is a good dia punya data is that high titer saja. Dia kata high titer, and then apa tu dikaitkan dengan lebih protektif. Tak juga kan. Is that maknanya kalau masuk variant lain dah takut, dah gentar kan, dah kata tak ni whatever thing. Dah lah buat kajian kan. Bisa Pfizer AstraZeneca ni boleh tak untuk variant ni kan. So kajian demi kajian kan, tak berhenti-henti tengok aktif. Dah nak kena buat apa tu dos ketiga pula. Kat thing nampak kan? Tengok aktif. So that one is a sentiment lah bagi saya, is lebih kepada kalau saya orang sains, pendapat saya janganlah viral pula kan. Janganlah you all viral pula saya punya talk ni whatever it is kan kepada ni whatever it is. Tak, is just thing whatever it is. Ini pendapat saya kan, pendapat saya dalam sains ni whatever it is that kata apa, is just perspektif thing whatever it is. Because kalau secara kata apa, review yang saya buat secara saintifiknya kan, bersama dengan student saya kita publish, kita tengah dalam proses nak publish soon, kita tengah nak publish pun ni secara reviewnya, bukan eksperimen, bukan secara reviewnya apa ni, untuk patient COVID-19 yang dah kena, and then kata apa, yang dah kena, dia satu dos cukup lah, sama dengan orang yang kena 2 dos tu. Dia punya protective level. Ini review lah, bukan diabetes. Dah cukup lah. So orang kata apa? Itulah. Orang kata apa? Maknanya orang yang dah second dose, dia kena lagi, dah jadi 3 dos kan. Orang yang dah kena second dose and then dia infected, bagi saya dah 3 dos. So that protected lah kan. Bagi saya data COVID-19 tu kena, cara reporting tu, pendapat saya kena ubah sikit lah. Tengok diabetes. So that sebenarnya you akan again and again is being infected, cumanya dia punya severity tu, alhamdulillah kita punya proven kan, severity of disease tu kurang kan, sangat drastically kurang, dah orang masuk ICU and so on. Itulah outcome yang kita nak. Tengok diabetes, kita cuma tunggu 1 hari is benda ni diisytiharkan sebagai endemik. Tengok diabetes. So, dah cukup. So kena explain berkaitan jugalah thing is that dengan epitope reaction kind of thing. Tapi dalam konteks yang berbeza, tengok diabetes dalam ni ya. Daripada awal saya cerita. Saya takut you all confused, so daripada awal lagi saya cerita tengok diabetes. So, ni mungkin reproduction yang seperti yang saya explain tadi lah. Dia ambil daripada rat and so on, hybridized selection and so on. So, ini detail sedikit. Ini detail sikit dari segi macam mana selection itu berlaku. Yang cakap tadi kan, bagaimana selection itu berlaku. Dia ada kriteria dia, tengok diabetes is culture antibody, kata apa, the fuse apa tu yang hybridoma tadi, the fuse melanoma tu dengan B cell tersebut, dia orang kata apa, dia akan mati kan, apa tu yang tak fuse itu dia akan mati dalam medium tu, head medium ni. Nanti dalam slide seterusnya kita akan tahu head medium ni apa. Penting lah is that head medium ni sebenarnya is selective medium untuk dia differentiate sel mana yang fuse, sel mana yang tak fuse. Maknanya kat situ ada selection berlaku. So dia akan kill apa tu myeloma cells yang B cell tak masuk, tak fuse B cell. So dia akan maknanya mati sebab so head medium ni lah dia punya medium selective medium yang digunakan. Formula lah, secara formulanya is that chemically is that masuk, dan nanti next slide seterusnya apa tu akan detailkan apa tu head medium. Cuma point kat sini ingat, saya tekan kat dia, head medium ni penting point untuk you all ingat, untuk you all tahu. Itulah apa yang bagaimana selection seterusnya berlaku dalam lab is the head medium. Saya tekan kat situ. Okay. Sebab over the past years kan, saya tak tekan macam ni, saya tekan kat you all ni kan, tengok diabetes saya just ajar, saya harap student faham. So dalam exam salah kan, tak boleh nak jawab head medium, apa kandungan head medium, tengok diabetes. So saya harap your batch ni tahu head medium tu fungsi apa chemical kandungan dalam head medium sebagai selektifnya ni apa, tengok diabetes dalam slide yang seterusnya. kan? Saya tekankan benda tu. So that kan your batch ni nampak lebih targeted lah, lebih kan daripada analisis saya batch-batch yang sebelum ni kan, daripada GX2 sampailah ke GX8 ni ya, GX8 tengok tadi saya harap GX9 ni saya ubah saya punya kata apa penekanan saya hopefully your punya group ni tak kata apa tepat kan, tepat dan lebih targeted dan lebih kata apa lebih informatif kan, secara selektifnya what is important what is not dalam subjek ni. InsyaAllah dan saya hanya berusaha, yang seterusnya saya serahkan kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. So again this description secara kata apa diagrammatic, isolate spleen kata tadi kan, antigen yang you masukkan dia akan isolate spleen, dia akan pilih thymocytes and then dia akan fuse dengan myeloma cell line. Cell line saya panggil word saya myeloma cell line, maknanya kalau dah kata myeloma cell line tu maknanya dia dah immortalize kan, proses immortalize berlaku. Cuba cari apa tu immortalize procedure dalam apa tu tissue culture, bagaimana nak produce nanti. Thymocytes. Okay, then I'll be appreciate what I'm saying here. When they fuse, dia akan select ke dalam head medium. Head medium. So head medium akan kill, dia akan kill cells yang tak ada B cell ataupun B cell yang tak guna thymocytes kan. Only few cells grow kan. Head thymocytes. So yang penting next apa head medium tu? Next kan thymocytes. So that hybridoma tu akan produce monoclonal antibodies through selection lah. Tengok line tu satu. Yang mana yang line kedua tu is another anti pula X1, yang ada tu X2 kan. X1, X2 maknanya kalau different well tu dah different kind of kata apa B cell. Faham dah? That's why you punya tugas next tu kena pilih well mana nak guna. Ini tunjuk 3 saja kan. Dia selalunya 96 lah kalau minimum is that dia panggil 96 well plate. Kan dia work in 96 well plate normal lah, common kita guna. 96 well plate kecil dah tu kan. Tengok what it is. 96 well plate maknanya 96 well satu flash. Mungkin ada 5-10 flash. Kalilah 96. Listing dah. Faham tak? Ni contoh tiga jenis. Pilihlah mana antibody yang you nak work out. Kena screen lah every well. Tengok this kan. So next one. Ni contoh 96 well plate tadi. 1, 2, 3, 4 and then seterusnya. Ini bukan 96 well plate. Ini lebih besar ni. Kalau 4, ini 4 kali 6, 24 well plate. Kalau 96 well plate, dia 8 kali 12. 8 kali 12, maknanya ada 8 secara panjang ni. Yang 4 tu jadi 8, yang seterusnya jadi 12. 12 kali 8 kali 12, 96. So, kecil lagi lah. Ini kalau 4, and then this one is a 24 well plate. 24 well plate. Dia tunjuk 96, sebenarnya bukan 96. 4 ni kalau secara ni 24. Kalau 26 dia 8. Dia 8. Salah ni kan diagrammatic ni. Kalau mau bisa kerja boleh lah komen kan. Tapi tak apalah. Is that most of the time you akan work in 96 well plate. 96 well plate. And one cell. Hello? Ayu nak cakap dengan saya?
Tak ada.
Tersalah. Okey. Saya suka kalau nak interact, saya suka. Bukan saya ni, saya suka. Tapi kalau tersalah tak apa, saya teruskan So, berapa dah? 4. Oi, dah dekat pukul 5 dah. Okey, ada dalam masa 20 minit ni saya laju sikit lah. Okey, dah pilih. Then this is dalam liquid nitrogen. Liquid nitrogen punya you nak letak sel liquid nitrogen. So, head medium tu apa? Dia ada hypoxanthine, ada aminopterin, dan thymidine. Ini yang menjadikan kata apa sel tu very selective. Apa itu kandungan head medium? Dia ada hypoxanthine, aminopterin, and thymidine. And source of nucleic acid synthesis of and will die in culture. Ini justify mengapa kata apa yang tak fuse dengan B cell mati. Only B cell yang itu kata apa ever can survive dalam head medium ni. Mana tak bisa. Okay. So ini prosedur tadi yang kita explain tadi. It is okay, saya dah ni. Ini diagramnya lebih kurang lah diagramnya. So, kalau saya explain pun kata apa is that macam mana nak produce kata apa humanized ataupun kepada full human antibody. Kan? So nampak lah yang dia punya asas itu, asas B cell tu memang dah diproduce dalam kata apa, dalam mouse tadi. That's why kata is that kata apa, tapi cells tadi yang seterusnya dia akan melalui proses kata apa, genome punya gene structure, whatever it is, and then dia akan clone, ligate, apa benda semua secara recombinant, whatever it is, and produce dalam cells, dalam lab thing, whatever it is. Tapi that's why yang kata tadi, yang kata apa, is that there is a fully human antibody punya production. Tapi asas B cell tadi adalah daripada mungkin kata apa, yang B cells yang daripada animal tu kita pergi humanize punya B cells, and then daripada humanize punya B cells itu dia akan further orang kata apa, analyze, buang semua kata apa antigen yang ada masih lagi dalam orang kata apa mouse tadi, dan dia akan produce secara lab jadi full human antibody. Tengok this, tengok this. Okay, so ini lebih kurang lah, lebih konsep dia. So macam mana? So gambaran lah nak kerja dalam lab. Tengok this advantage, boleh baca lah. So advantage dia, specificity, as I said, dimension selection, antibody production, and so on. Disadvantage of orang kata apa tu, antibody sometimes display unexpected cross reaction, walaupun monoclonal pun kan, ataupun orang kata apa polyclonal, is that dia boleh ada cross react juga kan. So it's possible lah. This so macam mana polyclonal is a very kind of orang kata apa simple lah. You masuk antigen, you ambil serum, that is polyclonal. Simple, very simple. Tak perlulah saya nak explain detail macam mana polyclonal tadi lah. Tengok this. So tapi dia punya mechanism operation sama. Dia mesti lagi melalui proses kata apa antigen presenting cells, MHC class 1, MHC class 2 tadi, and then B cells, and then plasma cells, then dia punya blood, you ambil blood, you are bila you're spinning down whatever it is, dia punya serum tu, itulah polyclonal antibody. Okay, that things. So polyclonal serum, anti-serum. Simple lah. That's why saya laju je kat sini. Saya detail out. Saya ambil masa sikit untuk monoclonal. So selalu kalau you nak boost kan, and then that's why after 2 weeks kan, after 2 weeks ataupun 1 month kita booster kan. That's why konsep nak third dose, second dose apa semua tu kan. So you faham lah kan, is that antibody punya graph punya production kan. Is that after dia nak at least for 2 weeks untuk dia start naik, and then dia start nak turun tu you boost lagi, and then tengok at this. Okay. Antibody polyclonal punya limitation, lifespan of the host animal. So and then specificity antibody dia tak bagus kan. And then dia punya result pula limited supply of required antibody. Yalah. So you are very much dependent kepada animals. Banyak sangat blood animal you boleh ambil kan, as compared to the cells you grow dalam monoclonal kan, you boleh grow sebanyak mana dalam labnya kan. So untuk animal, berapa banyak animal you nak blur, ambil darah, is cost meningkat tinggi, nak pergi makan and so on. Faham lah? So that's why dia panggil limited supply untuk required antibody. Tapi ada lagi tak? Cuba cari. Saya tak pasti tadi. Tak check pula monoclonal antibody untuk betapa anti-venom, untuk venom apa tu, bisa ular, teknologi. Ada tak dia guna pakai teknologi monoclonal dia anti-venom? Sebab nak anti-venom ni dia punya animal nak guna kuda je kan. Untuk ni kuda saja yang boleh tahan, yang boleh tahan antigen, bisa ular, bisa apa benda binatang, bisa kuda saja. Binatang lain tak boleh kan, tak tahan. So that bagus juga kalau kita boleh produce monoclonal antibody against bisa ular. Tengok nanti. Cuba check, saya tak check tadi kan. Cuba check ada tak nanti balik buat sendiri lah. Tengok nanti. So ini kaedah untuk betul equipments untuk buat betul untuk antibody punya teknologi. Nak guna ELISA, guna flow cytometry kan, and then virus neutralization. So ini konsep virus neutralization ni satu, saya bagi link tu, bagus untuk baca kan, bagus untuk baca yang link tu, tekan nanti ataupun type you tekan, ataupun you tekan you type dalam Google tu, kata apa? Apa tadi yang mudah neutralization, bukan neutralization. You tulis tu Immunogenic's kan, Immunogenic's COVID-19. Dia akan keluar AstraZeneca.com ni. Immunogenic COVID-19 dia akan keluar ni. You baca. Sangat bagus punya website untuk you faham virus neutralization ni. Apa dia virus neutralization? Kan? Sangat bagus kan untuk you faham virus neutralization. Ini kaedah untuk satu lab work untuk dia tunjuk keberkesanan antibody yang diproduce tu kan. Ini lebih pada macam vaksin lah. Tetapi untuk kata apa dalam kata apa monoclonal yang diproduce tu is that dia punya tahap neutralization tu mana? Neutralization dalam konteks monoclonal antibody ni, itu yang dia panggil anti-drugs antibody tadi. Kan? So anti-drug antibody ni dia akan neutralize dia punya monoclonal tadi. Kita tak nak kita tak nak lah. That's why is the virus neutralization punya prosedur ni is that digunakan juga dalam monoclonal ni, tapi dia nak tengok kata apa neutralization dia tak kata apa dalam keadaan yang rendah lah. As compared to vaksin, dia nak virus neutralization dia tinggi. Maknanya kan. So maknanya is virus neutralization ni maknanya is that lepas antibody kata apa antibody vaksin tadi is that tag kepada virus tersebut dia tak masuk dalam sel. Dia neutralize. Itu maksud dia virus neutralization. That's why kena baca ini. Tapi dalam konteks yang berbeza dalam konteks yang berbeza untuk you analyse tengok. You tengok dalam monoclonal dan juga dalam vaksin dalam konteks yang berbeza. Tapi teknik yang sama. Ingat tu. Saya daripada awal lagi saya tekan berbeza konteks dia. Tengok okay. Ini dalam AstraZeneca tadi lah. Saya kata the evaluating immune response. So that neutralization tu apa kan. So tengoklah sama ada binding, neutralize, so on detail dia. Tengok screening kan, kaedah screening dia. Dalam konteks ni dalam konteks vaksin. Cumanya kalau dalam konteks apa tu nak baca dalam konteks bagus dalam monoclonal dia kena terbalikkan lah. Itu je. So bila tu SBN tengok disease therapy dalam monoclonal antibody macam SLE. So mesti kata dia list panjang kalau nanti dalam ni kita tengok macam-macam. So dalam non-Hodgkin lymphoma and so on. Drugs target and then mode of action dia. So apa yang dia targeting semua tu nak ceritanya is that kata apa difference apa nak cerita kat sini adalah difference monoclonal antibody yang terhasilkan sebenarnya tu dia punya mode of action target receptors dia adalah berbeza, sangat berbeza. Itu je dia punya mode of action. Itu je saya nak cerita tu. Kadang-kadang you perasan is that kadang-kadang is that kata apa disease yang sama je. Ini sebab dia tak panjang kan. List dia tak panjang tapi bila tengok list yang complete list tu you akan perasan is that disease disease target kalau macam rheumatoid arthritis ataupun dia punya different monoclonal antibody dia akan target yang berbeza kan? Disease yang sama tapi monoclonal antibody yang dihasilkan target dia berbeza. List lah, lebih kurang list sajalah. So, banyak dah lah. So, dia nampak beza-beza. Umap, Zimap, kan? Zumap, you faham tak? Zumap daripada apa? Kan? Umap, kan? Tahu dah. Kalau ni tak perasan lah. Sekarang ni dah antibody ni dah you dah cakap dah. Ni Zimap, ada Mumap, ada Zumap, kan? Ni Zimap. Tahu lah baca dah kan? So tahulah, dah tahulah nak baca yang belakang tu nak baca. Oh ini Immunize kan, macam Alam tu Zumab kan, ni Immunize kan, Bacillizumab Schimeric. Kalau tak ada type tu pun dia all dah boleh tahu dah kan. So ni apa yang belakang tu dia punya suffix kan, dia panggil suffix belakang tu Zimab, Umab kan. So, okay, that's all from me. So saya rasa cukup lah kot. Yalah, baca lagi panjang lagi. Banyak slide saya buang sebenarnya. Sebab saya akan increase complexity. I think so far insyaAllah, I think saya dah tekankan apa yang perlu saya tekan. Dan saya harap you all pun dapat tangkap apa penekanan yang saya buat. What I'm stressed on, what I highlighted. So, any questions so far? Shakira, I pass back to you. The floor is yours, Shakira. Nambahan? Ada soalan nambahan?
Setakat ni tak ada Doktor. Alhamdulillah jelas.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for that. Hopefully Allah bantu untuk jelas, untuk ingat, untuk faham. Allah bagi faham. Saya tak mampu nak bagi faham. Saya nak cerita. Ya, saya.
Boleh saya nak tanya soalan cepu mas tak?
Takutnya dekat Nabahan dia dah faham. Okey. Kita tak tahu saya bagi kat Nabahan. Okey Anis.
Tadi
Boleh tak? Sebelum dulu tak? Takut saya.
Boleh.
Terima kasih. Jazakallah khair. Bismillah.
Saya cuma terfikir je. Tadi doktor ada sebut kuda je boleh tahan bisa ular. Jadi kalau ular tu patuk kuda, dia
tu.
Tapi dia kata kuda boleh tahan bisa tu.
Anis punya soalan betul lah cepu emas. Dia jawab dalam bentuk emas juga. Betul lah Anis punya soalan tu nak cepu emas question. Kalau ular patut kuda, biasanya kuda tu akan mati. Tapi yang saya cakap tadi dalam production of antivenom. Anis, faham tak? Dua keadaan berbeza Anis. Kalau ular patuk kuda secara lahiriahnya kita akan faham kuda itu akan mati. Sebab apa? Dos bisa yang masuk. Betul tak? Kan? Tapi kalau dalam production of antivenom, kan? Faham kan? Kita akan ambil bisa ular tu dan kita masuk, kita inject, kan? Kita inject. Selalunya dosis yang kita masuk dan inject, kita dah calculate dah concentration per kilogram of kuda tu. Betul, faham tak?
Faham.
Dan kita boleh expect dah seberat ini punya kuda, kita dah expect dah berapa banyak kita boleh purify expected antibody yang kita dapat hasil. Betul tak Anis? Kan? Betul Anis? Okay. Faham dah? Sekarang ni jelas dah? Ada soalan cepu emas, cepu berlian, cepu perak. Ada tak? Saya tak suka emas sangat sebab emas mahal. Tapi isteri saya suka emas. Yelah, emas nak buat apa kat saya, kan boleh pakai pun. Haram kan Nabahan kan? Ustaz Nabahan kan? Haram kan lelaki pakai emas kan? Orang perempuan emas kilat-kilat mata dia. Mata kilat-kilat. Tak boleh dipisahkan emas dengan perempuan. Ingat tu Nabahan, tidak boleh dipisahkan emas dengan perempuan. Tanyalah semua dia faham. Tanya Anis kau, Shakira kau. Dia tidak akan kata tidak kepada emas. Dia nak emas tersebut. Betul tak Shakira?
Betul.
Nabahan dengar tu Nabahan. Dengar tu. Tapi kita lelaki emas ni something ya Allah. Tuan janganlah disebut dia nak. Sakit kepala. Mahal ribu-ribu. Tapi itulah yang akan berkilat-kilatkan mata dia tengok Nabahan. Ada apa soalan lagi? Dah pukul 5 dah. Minta maaf Lana. Kita tak boleh pergi sembahyang Jumaat asar. Ada soalan lain? Tak ada Shakira. Macam mana Shakira? Kita boleh tutup ke?
Boleh Doktor.
Okey dah. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, soalan pun dah, cepu emas pun sudah ditanya. Cepu perak, cepu berlian tidak ditanya. So dengan itu kita tangguhlah dengan tasbih kifarah. Surah Al-Asr. Subhanakallah bihamdihi. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Wal 'asr. Ya. Minta maaf banyak-banyak dan tolong doa untuk saya. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you Doktor.
Terima kasih Doktor.
Terima kasih Doktor.